Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Celia Abrams in conjunction with her Cerulean Arts Collective Exhibition on view now through December 8th. Hello, Celia.
Hello, Mike, Tina.
Thanks.
I wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this tour and talk about my solo show at Cerulean. As you'll see from looking at the work, I'm a representational landscape painter. I do plein air work because I am happiest when immersed in an environment, responding to nature, and painting on site. I collect places of inspiration and sublime beauty, to which I return in all seasons, various times of day, and these places become part of my life like good friends. They're intimate reflections of a bond where a piece of me kind of stays, and I can revisit that piece when I come back. I have done art since I was a child. My grandmother gave me a jumbo pencil, which I actually have one here, and a doodle pad, and the doodle pads kept coming. I took classes throughout my youth. The classes were in drawing and painting, but also in arts like jewelry and ceramics and so forth. It became obvious to me that what I really loved doing was painting and drawing. And so is what challenged me, what interested me, and I let the others fall by the wayside. In the early 90s, I was to attend the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, and I learned a lot from fellow students. I had a number of mentors, some of whom helped me to discover how much I love plein air painting. And I was enthralled by it. The reason I like doing outdoor painting is because I'm immersed in an environment. I'm responding to the environment. I have resources to look at, but I'm not a photoreal painter. So as you can see in some of the paintings that Tina's showing you, the woods are not something you're not gonna grab that tree and hold on to it and feel its texture like you would when you were there, but hopefully it's the feeling and the vision that you're seeing. Each of my paintings is very personal. I choose a place and a view because of what I'm seeing, but also with how it makes me feel. So it takes hours for me to find a place that I want to land and stay and paint. And once I do, the way my criteria for identifying it is that that place takes my breath away. That spot takes my breath away. And it's rare that I don't feel that way. So when you're looking, for instance, at this painting here with those trees, it was that glow of the green. It was the bark and the texture of it that I kept wanting to look at, and I didn't want to look away. I choose a place, and after I do, it's overwhelming. The composition that I want to put down on canvas, the colors, the lights, the darks. And once I kind of get an idea of that, I do sketches, multiple sketches, brief. I may take photographs and look at the photographs also. I'll line up, as many artists know, sort of a rectangle to see what it would look like in a square or rectangle in shape. Then I'll do a monochromatic painting to identify masses and lights and darks, eventually add color, and return over and over again to that place if possible, unless I've traveled to get there. And returning to the place, I'll try to work towards completion, but in truth, I often complete it at home in days, weeks, maybe years later that I work on that same painting. And then I kind of have new eyes, but I know what I felt when I looked at it. I hope that I capture that much to return. This year, something that was very different for me is because of the heat and a pretty cold winter. I wasn't outside as much as I wanted to be. So I started paintings, but I spent a lot of time in the studio. So my paintings are reflections of what I see. As I said, not photoreal. And by that, I mean, I get to be creative. I get to move trees around, as I imagine many artists do. I get to decide that something isn't working towards what my focus was. I don't work towards a goal that I achieve and then stop. I really work towards making sure, I've realized also this year, that the original focus, the thing that got me to start that painting, like in this painting, it was the distant shore and seeing that glow on the water. So what got me to start that painting, I want to continue to have that in the painting. I don't want to vary from it. And I realize how much that reminds me of life also. We have a focus, hopefully, in life, and you want to be loyal to it and not leave who you really are as a person. And in my paintings, that's who I am as a person also. I couldn't try to paint like somebody else. I mean, I guess I could copy, but I can't be someone other than who I put down on the canvas. So in my paintings, I'm trying to capture that reflection, that initial feeling. What you'll see in this painting and the next one is of the very same place, and yet it's not the same view. One's closer, one's further. It's a different season. There's something else, as in the second one with the greenery, that was that focus, that green color in the water and the shape of the trees and the one that's fallen down. So that's why once I get to know a place, I can really have fun and explore it because there's a comfort level. You're at home. You can see that in the next couple of paintings as well. Well, not this one here. This painting here has elements of many places that I've been in the outdoors and what has drawn me there. So that the rough water and the excitement of the movement of the water, and yet the quietness that goes towards the waterfall in the background. I would say that a common theme in my paintings is a certain quietness, a certain contentment, a satisfaction without being bored. So I want to feel calm. I want to feel that I've arrived at a place and that I connect with it, but not that I have no interest in it. Now, when we go to the paintings right after this, you'll see that there's two paintings in a row that, again, are of the same place. It's a place called Westville, New Jersey. And each of them, if you had been there next to me when I painted it, you would not have seen what we're seeing now, because much of it was that I knew the place well and I could afford to add greenery where there may not have been some, and to take away some of the water, because there were times that I was there that the tide was out, and to add some shapes, such as the bit of current in the water where there was some sludge underneath. So that's an example of how I'm inspired by where I am, but it's not being copied. Let's see. The next painting is so familiar to many people, which was Cape May, but it was a view that I had never seen before. There was a small lake in this little residential area, and certainly the lighthouse was a fun part of it, but actually for me, it was what was happening in the water, the reflections and some of the glow and some of the lights and darks. That's what kept me in that area, because if I took that water away, it would just be me, the lighthouse, and some trees. So that's how I came to be there, not so much as the iconic lighthouse. Let's see. This painting here was done at a place called Bear Mountain State Park. And when I look at it now, I almost could see a sleeping bear, but that wasn't exactly what had been seen at the time. It was just, in some respects, it was the whole scene of this, mountain, and the beautiful sky. But again, the focus for me, or what drew me there, was what was going on in the back with the light as the sun had gone down. So that made it inspiring and fun for me to stay in that spot. Many times I have gone, and you may have seen some earlier paintings in the very beginning, to a place called Little Egg Harbor, where a friend of mine knows a lot of wonderful little gems of spots to go to. And the light is always different when you arrive in those spots. And although there's something familiar in the distant landscape, it never quite looks the same. And it's always like a kaleidoscope, something different to see each time you turn your head. And that's what keeps me coming back to many of these places.
Celia, do you do like drawing studies for these, or do you use photography at all?
Um, I do, I guess, a little sketches about 3 inches by maybe 4 inches, depending on if it's a vertical or often it's horizontal in the size. I also will do a little bit of a graph on that little sketch so that I can get an idea where the tree lands, or where the horizon comes in. And then I will mimic that when I do my underpainting on the canvas or the panel.
Is your underpainting in one color?
Yes, it's usually a monochromatic color. With some variation, I always use sunburnt sienna. There's times when I may use a magenta. Some of it has to do with what time of year it is and the background color that I'm seeing. Because that ultimately, at some point, it's going to show through the rest of the painting. I'm going to leave parts of that color there because it will just make sense, or I might just think it's beautiful. So that's very helpful for me. One of my goals, hopefully that will show through in my next show, and in the next year or two, will be to focus more on developing my foundation in the drawing or in that underpainting. So as much as I'll feel that I accomplished something in my paintings and I'll like what I did, because I usually do like what I do, I'm reaching to do more, or to do better, or to learn more. Other painters around me, I might see something that they've done that seems to help them to move the painting or solidify it earlier. So that's one of my biggest goals.
And when you're outside, how long can you paint before you like get tired, or, I mean, how can you keep the intensity? How long can you keep that going?
I don't think it's that I get tired. I think it's just that maybe at a certain point the paint maybe feels too wet and I can't put down some of the strokes that I want to put down. They start to merge or become gray. I would say I'm usually out somewhere about 3 hours or more, occasionally 2, but I'd rather 3 is satisfying, but I can be out all day long as I know that this is really what I was trying to capture, what I had at noon. But I can still be painting and try not to change the light that I'm seeing.
And do
I
you
don't
ever scrape it off and redo it?
redo the.
Like, if do you scrape the paint off down back to the surface again and repaint, or
I will do it in parts of the painting. I wouldn't say that I wipe away the whole painting.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, just in sections or
Yeah, just in sections. Like I don't become completely dissatisfied. I do that more when I'm in the studio, because in the studio, I've as much as it's become satisfying, I'm sort of grasping sometimes to try to um, remember what I see in nature and get that tree down or the field, and to make sure that there's a difference in the lights and darks and shapes. And so I think it's more there because I don't have as much reference to go by. I have my memory and a little bit from photographs. So I will paint something one day, and the next day, first thing in the morning, get back in the studio and wipe that completely out, which I think isn't uncommon with artists, but because I'm not I'm not, I'm somewhat new to doing so much studio painting as I've been doing, that it's somewhat new to me. I feel my way better when I can look around me and see more of the environment. But I enjoyed the studio painting, and I felt kind of more nervous this year about my show, because I knew that a lot of it came from a lot more from my imagination than from what I was specifically looking at. So I was, creating based on what I understood and what I've seen before,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. I also
Mhm.
sometimes will paint on a painting that just wasn't very successful, and I'll use that background color and paint over it, and I'll allow some of that to show through in my paintings.
Well, thanks, Celia. It's a wonderful show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
And the show is up through December 8th. We hope people come down to see it. And everything's also available on our website, ceruleanarts.com. Then thanks again for being here.
Most welcome, and thank you to you too.
And you as well. Take care and have a good night.
Okay.